So just go ahead and you can leave your eyes open, you can close them, whatever you'd like. And we're just going to start off by taking some deep breaths. And I like to just guide others to take breaths at their own pace, whatever. Because sometimes someone's like, take a deep breath and we're going to count to this. And I'm like, I can't inhale for that long. And it makes me like get out of it. So just take as deep of a breath as you can. As actually, you can probably, like, as you want to. And exhale. And do it all through your nose for just a few moments. So I'm going to be silent and we're just going to be doing that for the next few moments, and then I will get into it. So as you inhale, see if you can feel all parts of your body expand. There's no pressure. You don't have to force them to expand, but just notice what parts of your body easily expand as you breathe in and what parts feel a little more contracted. You don't have to change the parts that aren't expanding out. You don't have to like punish them to be pushed out. Just let them be as they are. But just notice them, just acknowledge them and be aware of them. Sometimes when I'm doing deep breathing, I like to visualize the air filling up every single one of my cells. And it's like each is somehow visualized, like each one of my cells like inflating and then deflating. It's like each one of my cells as are individuals and they are taking a breath in unison with me as I direct it. By the way, I like using a lot of imagery, but if you're not seeing any visuals or if you don't have to force it or push it, just trust that whatever scenes I'm describing, you're there and you're experiencing it, whether you can draw up those images yourself or not. Just trust that if you're hearing it, it's working. You don't even have to catch all the words with your mind. You can just zone out as well and just know that whatever processes are running, they're working. One way I like to see these guided meditations that I've been doing is it's like literally running like a software program on our system. Um, like as we are biological computers, it's like where I'm coding the program and you guys are all installing it and receiving it and downloading it. And so I'm the one that has to do the work. It's not really work for me, it's play, but you know what I mean? Like I'm the one that actually has to do something, and all you have to do is just sit back and receive it and let whatever the experience needs to be, let it be that, and you don't have to do anything else. So just continue breathing. So I'm seeing like on our heads, it's almost like we're scrubbing our heads. It's like shampoo, but it's like we're scrubbing our heads clean. For whatever reason, it feels like I'm feeling a lot of like tenseness on like our crown chakra areas, or I'm feeling it on myself. So that may reflect what you're experiencing as well, but it may not. Um, but yeah, I'm visualizing taking like a scrubbing brush, whatever that looks like to you, and just squeezing out like like a lot of like shampoo, but it's not actually shampoo. It's like the universe's cleaning solution. And we're just like squeezing that onto the scrubbing brush. And we're literally just gonna start scrubbing our heads. This feels so funny, but that's what I've always noticed that my guided meditations are honestly quite funny. And it's kind of fun that way. So just, I'm gonna turn my camera on at this point because I feel like I'm in there. So literally, like, if you're watching me, this is like the scrubbing brush for putting like the universe's cleaning shampoo. I don't like the word shampoo because it has the word poo in it, but we're just gonna squeeze that on, and we're literally just scrubbing our heads and allowing like any debris that was stuck on our in our like that area of our body to just like come loose. And any like, I'm seeing like even like some of the stuff that's been like kind of caked on for a really long time, even that now, because we're doing this, is like starting to come loose and starting to clear the way for these new energies that are really like just kind of waiting for us to open up to. And they're going to start like, I mean, we've already been feeling the intensity of it, like all of this information pouring in. And something that can make it difficult to process that information and to feel stable within that information is we have like things that are blocking the flow. So what this like universe shampooing thing is doing is we're just like loosening up and removing some of that like caked on debris that's maybe making it more difficult to process everything that's coming through right now. So just take a few moments to do that and just lather. Okay. So finish up your last few pieces. You may notice that if you tap into like your actual headspace, you might notice that there's some areas of your head that are requiring some more scrubbing. So just notice that as well and give those areas the love that they need. Also, there's people downstairs, and so if you hear barking or a lot of people screaming, that's okay. And that's part of what I've been learning recently is we don't have to control the entire external environment to achieve that place of stillness that we want and we desire. And that's actually what I feel like has been my practice even over the past week or so with all of these things happening around me. It's like training. It's like, can I find my stillness because it actually is accessible? Can I find it even amidst like the tornado that's around me? This is like the eye of the storm imagery that has been continuously coming up for me. So yeah, if that happens, just if you hear the dogs barking, if it takes you out, that's totally fine. Just come back when you need to, but also know that we don't need to like make everything perfectly crystal clear in our external to achieve the states of being that we desire like in our internal worlds. And actually that is the goal of spiritual evolution, is being able to maintain that space of like essentially like staying rooted in our native frequency, like our true essence. That's the practice, is like, can we stay rooted in that essence despite what other people are doing around us or what's happening around us or how chaotic it is. And this is hard. This is hard for me, especially right now, because I've gotten quite good at doing it in my own, like in my own little space, and I can control my room and I can close the door and nobody can come in unless I let them, and it's very easy like in a controlled space to just like really drop in. But now it's like we're all being invited to start practicing in addition to any chaos that is occurring around us. And this might be like in our immediate surroundings, in the collective. It's like this message of, this is like it's like a PhD level in spiritual advancement at this point that we're all kind of experiencing. It's like in the past, for people who are on the ascension path in the past, we kind of like it's like when you think of meditation, it's like there's a reason why we will think of people like meditating in caves by themselves, or like monks. Like it's like people who are on the ascension path had to kind of isolate themselves outside of the collective in order to achieve their goals, like of their spiritual development. But now, because of the time that we're in, like the more of the collective is actually ready to be on this path as well. So now it's like a really interesting time, because we're being invited to do our spiritual development in, like, while we are still embodied in our bodies, and like still in the collective. Like, we're not separating ourselves out. We're doing our embodiment work, we're doing our spiritual development work, but we're doing it within the communities that surround us. Like, even amongst the people that don't get it, it's like we've really been called right now to step up and do this work, to be an example for those people as well. Because as you all know, it's like as we heal and as we heal ourselves, we become examples for everyone around us who maybe hasn't had like maybe they have had no example up until this point, where you've stepped into their life, where they realize that, oh, there is another way out, there is a path that doesn't involve suffering, there is like a way to actually start clearing some of these negative feelings that we've kind of almost feels like we've been born with and we've been carrying for so long, and now we're in the process of removing them. And for so long it felt like there's no way to remove them all. Like, there was this belief that was going around, and I think it still is, but this belief that like healing is infinite, that we're never going to like be at a place of complete peace. And what I've experienced is that that's not true. There's a finite number of traumas that we have to clear, and yes, like it can feel overwhelming, it can feel like a lot, but realistically it's finite. And we have, like, all of us, we're quite young we're just like in our early 20s, and so we have like a whole lifetime ahead of us, and it's not even going to take us our entire lifetime to clear and to release everything that we have felt traumatized by in the past. But yeah, that message is coming out really clearly. It's like whatever we're releasing and purging and processing right now, it feels really intense right now, but just remember that it's not an infinite process. It's like a finite process, and once you clear those levels, you kind of zoom up. Like, there is an existence on this planet for human beings that exists without suffering. And it sounds crazy to us because it's like, what, really? Like, I've never seen an example of that. Like, suffering is just like part of this reality. And it's like it has been up until this point, and now we're starting, like, individuals are beginning to like kind of carve paths out of it into an existence where, yes, you can go through difficult things, or things that were like things that can be labeled as really difficult by some people, but if you have the right perspective, if you have the right framing, even those really, really difficult situations can be viewed as blessings. And so that's kind of what my understanding has been about like removing the suffering out of like crisis modes, because it's like when you can see the crisis is also serving, and you can deal with the pain that comes up and let it process because you know it's part of a greater process that is for you. You begin to kind of loosen your grip on that suffering, and the suffering really occurs when we're resisting it. So when we can see it for what it is, any crisis, any like letting go of things, any grief, whatever happens in our life, when we can accept it as something that it is also serving us. And that also, this realization is not just, it's like I'm saying it right now, and it's not something that, I mean, it's something that it develops over time, and it becomes easier and easier to stay rooted in this perspective as time goes on, and as we move through more crisis situations, and we realize, by the way, crisis, it doesn't have to be like a full-on, huge, overwhelming calamity. I'm just, even the smallest crises, like my friend didn't message me back, and now I feel really sad. Like that's like a version of a crisis too. But it's like the more that we move through them, it's like trigger processing. The more that we process the triggers, there's a limited amount of triggers, and eventually you break free of that. And once you break free of that, which we all will, it's just like it's a different game. It's a whole different reality. So we're all doing that collectively right now. And I hope you've lathered. um, so now we can take your scrubbing brush away, and we're going to visualize it's like a shower head, but it's in the shape of a sun. It's like a sun and shower head. So merge those two concepts together. A sunny shower head. And you're turning on the faucet and it's just starting to shower upon you like golden light, like just like this really bright, shimmery, golden. It's like a very luxurious feeling energy. It's just pouring over you, and it's all of the debris that was like loosened up with the scrubbing brush. It is now being released, and well, it's flowing off because the golden light is taking it with it. The golden light water. It's not really water. It's more of like a, yeah. It kind of looks like it's like water, but it's also like fiery, and it's yeah. I don't know. It's see if you can see what I'm visualizing. It's kind of water, but it also has fire. It also is like airy. I don't know. It's all of the elements all at once, and it's kind of pouring through and rinsing off all of the bubbles and all of the debris that was remaining around your head area. And really, I mean, it's still touching the rest of your body too. So anything that was like on the top of the rest of your body, on the surface level, and in your field actually as well, it's just starting to pour down into the ground. And as it pours down, I'm seeing this, it's kind of like a green portal. It's like this emerald green kind of light, oval that is directly underneath us, and it's almost like Mother Earth like opening up her arms to catch all of the debris that is falling off you now. And she like, this is something that we have lost as humanity, this practice of allowing our density and like giving it to the earth, because like part of our relationship with the earth is when we release this like energetic density and give it to earth, she's able to now have more resources to transmute, like she has the ability basically to transmute what we no longer need into something new for herself. And since we're all still part of her, so for herself and all of the other beings that exist on her. So when we like actively allow our density to be given and absorbed to Mother Earth, she's grateful for it. She's so grateful for it. She's like, finally, I've been waiting. I have so much more resource now that you've given this to me. And so she's just kind of like, all the things that's coming off of us, pouring off us right now, it is being poured right directly into Mother Earth, and she is gratefully accepting it. She's sending you so much love, and she's transmuting it into something new for herself and others. So just watch that process as the golden light fills your field, and watch everything flow off of you into Earth's arms. Perfect. So leave the emerald portal open underneath you for any other processing that's happening. Um, you don't have to worry about it. Earth will, she'll grab whatever comes through automatically. You don't have to really consciously do so anymore. So whatever else is being released into your field, it is automatically kind of being sucked out from underneath you back into Earth. So now we're going to attach a grounding cord to ourselves. And this is a practice that I've learned before, but more strongly have been implementing it. It was written in it's like part of the Pleiadian lightwork that I've been practicing recently. And this specific practice comes from the Pleiadian Workbook, which I've posted in our group chat and in our group Facebook group. So if you're curious, I just remembered I sent you this grounding cord work. So we're just going to do that together. And then we'll blow some roses, and then that will be the end of today's meditation. So just return back to your breath and try to see if you can notice how much of your presence is in your body, like actually in your body. And this is like kind of related to what I was sharing a little at the beginning of this call. How, like, when you breathe in, how much of your body is being expanded out as you breathe in. So now see if you can, in whatever way works for you, and it's okay if it's kind of not budging, but just see if you can try. How can you pull in more of your presence down, grounded into your body? So it's like visualizing your energetic body that overlays your physical body and visualizing it coming into proper alignment with your physical body. For a long time, I was noticing that actually it's taken me like some weeks of practice now of my like default state is basically my energetic body is kind of like floating above my physical body. So every day I have to like bring it down and like get used to that feeling of bringing it down. And only now it's becoming easier to keep it down there. So don't be worried or anything if you're like, oh my gosh, like I'm really not, my energetic body really isn't aligned with my physical body. Like that's okay. I think that's quite normal for us at this time. So anyway, just in this moment, just visualize like bringing it down, and it can help to like try to breathe into your cells again to allow this to happen. It's almost like you're clicking yourself into place. I'm like, I just like felt this like, I didn't feel it physically, but it just felt like something clicked in my like heart space. It was like this, yeah, it was like ding. So it's like clicking into place, your energetic body overlaying your physical body. And now you're going to imagine a cord. So I kind of see it like a rope of light. It might look different for you, but I see it like quite big. If you want to open your eyes, it's about this, like mine is like about this big. Yeah. So that's how big like I visualize my cord to be, or my rope to be. And whatever color, so the first color that comes to your head as I'm speaking right now, yeah, that color that you just thought of, you're going to turn that rope of light into that color. And I like to add a little sparkle to it, but that's just me, like a little like glowy sparkly thing around it just so it feels more like luminous. And we're going to attach it to our like sacral region. And if you don't know where that is, it's kind of like around your belly button. And it's kind of like an umbilical, it's like the visual of like an umbilical cord. But what we're doing with this umbilical cord, it's like an umbilical cord of light, and we're attaching it back to Mother Earth. And this actually wasn't written in the grounding practice, but as I've been doing it, that's what I've been realizing. I'm like, oh, this is really interesting. It's like connecting ourselves more deeply into Earth, who is real. It's like at the core of it, she's all of our mother. We're made of her. And so like it's installing in this like cord of energetic light, or energetic cord of light. It's like we're attaching it to our sacral, which is around your like stomach area, your womb space. And you're going to follow it. So it's attached now, like it's kind of like swirling around and like attached to your sacral in however way that I want it to be. And now you're following the cord, and it's traveling down into Earth, and it's going down, like digging going layer by layer, and it's reaching the center, it's reaching the core of the Earth, and it's just wrapping itself around. The other end is wrapping itself around Mother Earth's core. And so basically you've got a direct connection now to Earth, and you're grounded in with her at all moments. We're no longer separate from Mother Earth. We never were, but this practice really helps us realize like, oh, we can actually really consciously connect ourselves back to her and her resources, that we give her resources, as we just spoke about, but she also gives us resources. And this is like the umbilical cord energy. So that's now established, and that will remain with you until you think about it next. And if you think about it again, whether it's like you don't have to worry about it at all, but you can just leave this practice and just know that it's gonna stay there. But if you do think about it again, if it just like randomly comes up as a thought, just do this practice again, just like install a new cord. It might just be wanting to like be put up in a different color. And you can ask me again for the practice written out, but it's also in the chat if you like go into the photos. So yeah, but just know that it's there for you and you're connected in all moments. And if you do think about it again, just reconnect the cord and you're good. And the more that I find that I do this, the more stable I feel, even when there's a tornado happening around me. Okay. So we still have the light rain, or like the shower of light pouring on us, by the way, just as a reminder. And still, as we've been like grounding ourselves, it's still been doing its thing. And the last thing that we're going to do today is we're going to blow some roses, which is another Pleiadian light work exercise. And if you want this in writing, just ask me afterwards as well, and I'll send it to you. So this is this is a really powerful practice, and I actually learned this for the first time last year, in April or so. It just kind of randomly came to me from a random person that I don't even like. It just randomly came up for me, and it was something that like at that time, like this time last year, I'd never done energy work. Like I didn't believe in it. I was like, I don't think this is really doing anything. Like I didn't have access to the subtler realms as much, so I didn't feel what was happening. But for whatever reason, I still felt called to like do this practice. And so this practice is called blowing roses, and it's basically like the gist of it is like we're putting up roses in our field, and we're letting the roses, whatever we are wanting to like fully be absorbed from our system right now and from our field, the roses actually have the capability of healing that. And the rose technology is actually it's part of the like Isis and Hathor like priestess mystery teachings, and which was later again, like I don't know if you've seen this before, but like oftentimes like Mother Mary, like Jesus's mother, is often symbolized with like rose kind of imagery. And so the rose technology, like this like energetic, like it's actually been like a coded into our reality, this like concept of like a rose being able to absorb anything from our systems that is no longer needed. It's been around for thousands of years, and it's been a practice that has been taught in many mystery schools, but specifically originating from the like ancient Egyptian mystery schools, which ancient Egypt is also kind of, it's like a lot of its practices came from the Atlantis teachings and the Lemurian teachings. And so it's kind of like a lot, like humanity has been using this practice for a long time, and we're using it again now. So what we're going to do is you're just going to visualize a rose opening up in front of you, like in front of your heart space. And it can be as big as you want it to be. And it can be whatever color you want it to be. So just go ahead and do that now. Just visualize a rose of any color and any size opening up in full bloom right in front of you. And now you're going to think of, it can be like, okay, so it's kind of like you're taking you're attaching that rose, or like you're programming that rose in with the energies that you want it to absorb. So if, for example, I've been doing this with like sometimes someone will be pissing me off and I'll visualize them in the rose. And so it's kind of like telling the rose and programming the rose to be like, any energies that have come in from this person that is not mine, let that rose absorb that from my field now. So whatever comes up first, and you can honestly, if you want, if you have multiple things that come up, you can put up more than one rose as well, and then just program each one based on the feelings or based on the feeling or the energy that you want gone from your field. So it could be like a certain person, something that happened with a certain person. It could just be like, right now what's coming up for me is just any remaining feelings around not feeling support, like scarcity, programming that energy of scarcity. You can program the rose using words. You can just like attach a feeling to it. However you want to do it, it's essentially just labeling a rose, so you know more consciously what it's taking up or absorbing from you. So go ahead and do that now. And sometimes you don't have to have a very specific, you don't have to know what you're transmuting. If nothing is coming up, just trust that whatever needs to be absorbed from you. It's like your higher aspects know what needs to be absorbed. It's like sometimes it's just nicer for our conscious minds. If it helps our minds like feel more clued in and makes it feel like it's working, like it's always working. So you don't have to know, but if you want to know, like something conscious will come up. So as you've programmed this rose or roses that are in front of you, so now just visualize them like as they're absorbing the energy from your field, they're beginning to close up. And they can be closing up as fast or as slowly as is relevant to you in this moment. And we're just going to sit with that for a bit as it happens. And once it closes up fully, and you'll know when it is, maybe you'll see it, but if you don't see it, you'll just have this knowingness. It doesn't have to be a very visual process, but there's just a knowingness like, oh, my rose closed up. And so when it does close up, visualize moving it out of your field and taking it like outside of your house and kind of exploding it outside of your house. And when I explode my roses, it kind of like, it almost looks like it's like confetti or like sparkles or something that just like explodes into sparkles. And it's kind of like releasing the energy, and all of the energy that was absorbed from your field is now being taken out of your field, out of your home, and it's being released out into the world. And again, it's going to be returned back to the sender or to whoever, like wherever you picked it up from. Or if no one is really needing to hold that energy anymore, it's just going to be transmuted by earth. So yeah, so I'm just going to be silent for a little bit as we do that whole practice. So I'm just going to review it, and then I'll be silent and we'll come back. So open up roses, as many as you need, for as many colors in front of you within your field. And then program each of the rows that you've opened up with a certain energy that you want it to absorb. And if you don't know, then just trust that it knows, it can see what it needs to, like it knows what job it needs to do. So, and then once you've done that, just allow the rose to like absorb and process and take in, like just see this, almost like seeing streams of the energy like go flowing into the rose. And as that happens, the rose begins to close up. And once the rose is completely closed, move it out of your house, outside, and explode it, and see how that looks for you. So we're just going to do that, and do it as many times as you feel like. And even when we're done this practice, even when we're finished with this meditation together, you can return to this practice and continue blowing the roses, because sometimes it takes multiple roses even to release all of the energy that's been built up from even one specific situation or one specific person or energy or whatever. So yeah, I'm gonna be silent now and just blow your roses. Okay. So the last thing that we're going to do, and then we're going to close it out, is we're going to install a rose for us to absorb any incoming energies that are not relevant to us. We're just going to install, just as we did with the grounding cord, we're just going to install this rose outside of our field. So picture like 2 or 3 feet outside, like in front of you, and then place a rose. So it's like you're putting it outside of your auric field, and it can, again, any color that you want, any size that you want, just place it there. In this moment, mine is a rainbow rose. It's just like all the colors. It's like I just want them all. So, and then it's about like medium size. So placing it right outside of our energy fields, and letting it open up in full bloom. You don't have to really program this with any specific intention because it's just going to be a catch-all for whatever is coming your way. And the last thing that you're going to do is, like, the same as we attached a grounding cord to ourselves and our own bodies, attach a grounding cord to that rose into the core of the earth. And that'll just help it kind of stay stabilized in front of you. Perfect. And this rose is going to stay there as long as it needs. And if you forget about it, that's fine. It's doing its job. It's doing what it needs to do. But if, again, like similar to the grounding cord, if you just think about it again randomly, and if it just comes up, then maybe then you could, that's an invite to like check in on it, and you can see if you need to like blow it out. If it's like fully closed up at the moment that you thought about it randomly again, you can like that again, move it out of your house, blow it up, and like install a new rose there if you want to. Sometimes again, it just wants a different color there. So yeah, it's kind of interesting to, when we start doing this energy work and noticing like how alive everything really is. Like our imaginations, we've been kind of taught that they're kind of useless and don't really mean anything. But when we do start working with energy work, we realize like actually how tangible what we create with our imaginations really is in the, like, maybe we can't see it yet in the material realm, but it's existing in the energetic fields around us. And it's like as you continue to do this work, it just becomes more and more obvious and more real. Yeah. So that is today's meditation, and also I guess your intro to the Pleiadian light work. um, Again, if you want, like, everything that we kind of touched here is like the practices are in the Pleiadian Workbook, which I posted in the Facebook group. So if you want to like look them up. Otherwise, if you just want a specific practice, you can just message me and I'll send you just the screenshots of it. Yeah, so to close out, we're going to, the last thing is like we're going to visualize like us being encompassed in a golden bubble of light. And it's just going to be like the same like golden energy that was raining upon us. Oh, we should probably turn that faucet off. Actually, you can leave it on if you want, and it'll turn off when it doesn't need to be there anymore. But if you feel the need, if you want to turn it off right now, you can do that. Otherwise, leave it on and just be like, and just set the, we'll set the intention that when it's done, when we don't need it anymore, it'll automatically turn off. And so we're gonna like take that same like luxurious golden energy, and we're gonna encompass ourselves in a bubble of it. And then we're going to visualize like around that golden bubble, we're going to visualize like an inch or 2 inches of like violet flame. So like a flame that's violet, like a violet purple flame. We're just gonna put like install that violet flame like surrounding the golden bubble. And the violet flame is another type of technology that you can actually Google and read up about a lot more. And that again is just, it's again another, it's like a protective barrier. So any incoming energies that are not relevant to you, they're just going to be transmuted instantly as they enter through. And then anything that the violet flame misses, the rose that you installed in front of you is going to absorb the rest. Yeah, so just take a few more deep breaths. Notice how you feel. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes.